Okay, let's call the meeting of the Board Authority of Allegheny County to order. And first order of business, we need to take a roll call. Jen Liptak. See you there. Ann O'Rourke.
Here.
Sean Tagg.
Here.
Michelle Zmianek.
Present.
Austin Davis. Austin, you with us? I don't see Austin there. Senator Brewster.
Here.
Jessica Walls-About. Jessica, you there? Okay. Missing two people so far. Stephanie Turman.
Here.
Okay. And Jerry DeLon.
Here.
Okay, I think that's everybody. All right, so we're missing two folks right now. Representative Lizgorski is not able to make this meeting.
It
Okay.
looks like Representative Davis just joined.
Yes, I'm here. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yep,
All right,
and
great.
Jessica's here too.
Jessica, you're there. Okay, great. All right. So with that, we'll move into approval of the minutes of the January 29th annual meeting and the January 29th regular meeting. So everybody had a chance to review the minutes? Any questions or comments? Okay, Jen, would you make a motion to approve?
Moved.
John, would you second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, those minutes are approved. And with that, we'll move on to the report of our CEO, Catherine. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us on this Friday morning. May I please have a moment of silence for the following former employees who are no longer with us. Seat and sign repair person Edward Westward, money room operator David Grimes, facility system supervisor Dennis Malloy, mechanic Frederick Jones, and operators Eugene Scott, Michelle Clem, and Dolores Smith. Thank you. Yesterday, we hosted two of the next four Next Transit meetings, and I'm thrilled with the direction that our long-range plan is heading. So just a reminder, Next Transit is Port Authority's 25-year plan. It charts our course out from here through 2045. Once we can get this consensus and we know where we want to be, then we can lay out our projects and move on these ambitious plans for the network that Southwestern Pennsylvania deserves. We spent the last several months asking how we can improve our system, how we can get non-riders to give us a chance, and really how we can make the experience better for the folks who already are riding with us. We've received more than 20,000 points of input, and now we're coming back to ask, did we hear you correctly? Confirm that what we heard and what we see is what our passengers and stakeholders see, and then we can move forward, looking at concrete examples of projects to make sure we're getting this all together. So far, we've had a lot of high-level discussions, and they're very important and helpful for this step, but I'm really excited to start talking about concrete projects, policies, and programs that align with the goals from our community and improve transit right here in our own backyard. Literally, if you've seen the Silver Line Library in our backyard. I encourage you to join us for this round of meetings. The next two meetings are March 2nd, and you can find details online at www.nexttransit.network. Next Transit has one T, nextransit.network. Thanks very much. And when we're talking about the future of transit, it's not just where the line goes. There are a lot of things which impact this. And of course, one of the significant components of the system is how to pay for your service. 2 years ago, it's been 2 years, we contracted with 49 Technology to do a comprehensive review of our fare structure, separate from a fare policy that guides our decisions, get best practices from around the country, and come back with recommendations and costs for how we can upgrade our fare system, really with the goal of making it easier to use, absolutely more equitable for folks who are using our system. We completed significant work in 2019. In 2020, we were ready to kick off the process of more public involvement, as well as our required demographic research to make sure that anything that was an improvement really was, that we met our Title VI requirements for this. Many other agencies that have been looking at fair structures are not moving forward in the pandemic because of research issues, but we are confident we can tackle this, and improvements can't wait for a pandemic to be over. We've been saying this for a year, just a few more weeks. So we're very excited to say that next month, staff will be bringing to the board some preliminary recommendations as 4.9 begins the public input process with us. So we'll be speaking to the board with these recommendations, and then we'll be able to come out to our communities, vet this process, and get these improvements rolled out, which are long-term and durable. We will host our required public hearing in addition to other ways for folks to learn about these improvements. And this is our first step toward a more equitable system, and I'm really excited to be moving ahead. Mr. Chair, unless there are any questions, this concludes my remarks.
Thank you, Catherine. Are there any questions? Okay, great. With that, we'll move on to the report of the Performance and Oversight Committee from Michelle Zemanek, the chair. Michelle?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Mr. Chair, and everyone participating. The Performance Oversight Committee met last week via WebEx, and I have one resolution for your consideration this morning. The committee reviewed 6 procurement items and determined the bids to be in accordance with the authority's procurement policies and procedures, the prices to be reasonable and fair, the bidders to be responsible, and the bids responsive. The Performance Oversight Committee recommends the award of bids listed in the resolution for the total amount of approximately $2 million. My fellow members, I respectfully request the board approve this resolution.
Hey, Jerry, can you make that motion?
So moved.
And Jessica, could you second it?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, that motion carries.
I have no further business this morning, and that concludes my report, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Let's mark this date as a date in history of the shortest report of the Performance and Oversight Committee ever.
They gave it all to me this
Founding.
week.
Okay, so with that, we'll move into the report of the Planning and Stakeholder Relations Committee from our chair, Don Tagg. John, you're on.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and fellow board members and fellow riders. I have a 2-hour report. Just kidding, of course.
We're not surprised. Nobody expressed surprise.
The Planning and Stakeholders Relations Committee met last week. I have a few updates for the board. First, David Huffaker provided the committee with an update on the bus rapid transit project. Public outreach. The Port Authority held 4 online public meetings last month on Microsoft Teams. The meetings were staffed by Port Authority, ACOM, and City of Pittsburgh Department of Mobility and Infrastructure. Although we would have preferred to meet with the community in person, we're able to still have a meaningful discussion with our 200 participants. Last month, the Port Authority began meeting with our assigned project management oversight consultant, or PMOC. This company is contracted by the FTA to help review the project readiness for federal funding. They conduct a risk assessment and evaluate the project plan. The PMOC is expected to report back to the FTA in April. Grant money could be released following a favorable report. Project timeline. We are currently at 90% design. We will bring a constructive management contract to the board as soon as federal funding is secured. On the current schedule, we anticipate putting the construction of the project out to bid later this year and beginning construction in as late as 2021. Construction will continue through 2022, with revenue service will begin in late 2023. Secondly, Committee for Accessible Transportation, CAT. The CAT committee held their regular quarterly meeting on February 4, 2021 using Microsoft Teams. The committee received updates on several items, including an overview of the annual service report, information related to brochures, and website updates for accessible programs and services, upcoming quarterly service changes, construction updates, and information regarding the mobile app and mobile ticketing validator. The CAT committee will have an opportunity for additional review of the placement of these mobile ticketing validators on light rail vehicles on Friday, today, February 26th. The next quarterly meeting is scheduled for May 6, 2021. Third and last, the Allegheny County Transit Council, ACTC, held a regularly scheduled meeting on February 24, 2021, using Microsoft Teams. Members received a brief update on general items of interest in the liaisons report and utilized the remaining time to conduct a council planning session. The next general council meeting is scheduled for March 24, 2021. If there are no questions, Mr. Chair, that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thanks, John. Are there any questions? Okay, thanks. With that, we'll move on to the report of the Finance Committee from our Chair, Anna Gork. Ann, you're on.
Thank you. Good morning, Chair and fellow board members. The Finance Committee met on Thursday, February 18th, and I have 3 resolutions for your consideration. Chief Financial Officer Peter Shane presented a resolution to enter into an agreement with a pool of firms for financial advisory services. The pool of up to 2 firms is for the categories of financial planning services and debt and investment management advisory services. Requests for proposals were sent out. An evaluation committee made up of 6 employees from finance and operations convened and selected PFM Financial Advisors, LLC, to perform debt and investment management services. Under the financial planning services category, the committee selected 2 firms, PFM Financial Advisors, LLC, and NW Financial Group, LLC. The term of the agreements will be for a 3-year period with the option to extend up to 2 additional years at the sole discretion of the authority. Work tasks will be assigned to the contractor via work orders on an as-needed basis. A total not to exceed amount of up to $400,000 is recommended for approval. My fellow members, I respectfully request the board approve this resolution.
Austin, can you make that motion? Stephanie?
So moved. I just had to unmute.
Stephanie, can you second?
Second.
Any questions? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Is there anyone opposed? Okay, that motion carries. Go ahead, Ann.
The second resolution is seeking authorization to enter into an agreement for financial audit and pension plan audit services. The authority requires an outside contractor to conduct single financial audits for fiscal years 2021, 2022, and 2023. The contractor will also perform annual pension plan audits for calendar years 2020, 2021, and 2022. A request for proposals was publicly advertised and a selection committee formed consisting of 6 employees or 6 members from the engineering, finance, and executive divisions. 4 proposals were received and Mara Dussel was selected by the committee based on its experience, proposal, and price. The agreement with Mara Dussel would be for 3 years with an authority option for 2 additional years. The 3-year agreement would be for a not to exceed amount of $313,500. My fellow members, I respectfully request the board approve this resolution.
Jessica, could you make that motion?
So moved.
Okay, and Michelle, can you second it? Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries.
The final resolution seeks authorization to amend the FY 2021 capital budget. The authority board passed a resolution on June 26, 2020 that adopted a balanced FY 2020 capital budget beginning July 1st, 2020 and ending on June 30th, 2021. Since adoption, the Pennsylvania Department of Transportation has advised the authority of an $820,000 decrease to its originally anticipated Section 1514 state capital funding allocation due to COVID-19 impacts. Allegheny County has advised the authority of an increase to its originally anticipated county capital funding allocation for FY 2021 related to the BRT project. In addition, the authority has been notified by the Federal Transit Administration of certain increases to its originally anticipated federal capital funding application for FY 2021. This resolution authorizes passage of the amended FY 2021 capital budget as set forth in Exhibit A to the resolution. The amended capital budget totals $145,275,460. My fellow members, I respectfully request the board approve this resolution.
Stephanie, can you make that motion?
So moved.
Jen, could you second it? Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries.
Okay. Chief Financial Officer Peter Shank then reported on the January 2021 financial statements. He reported that total operating income for the month of January was $5.5 million under budget. Through January, total operating income was $39.1 million below budget. Every operating income category was below budget for the month and on a fiscal year-to-date perspective due to the pandemic. Lower passenger revenues and access program service revenues constitute the majority of this shortfall. Total expenses for the month of January were $6.5 million under budget and $27.7 million under budget for the fiscal year. Mr. Shank reported if these trends continue, the authority wouldn't have to use any deferred revenues for operating purposes and may even have limited CARES Act funds remaining to be utilized for the next fiscal year. Total subsidy for the month of January was $9.7 million above budget due to a timing issue in CARES receipts versus budget in offsetting subsidy categories. Total subsidy for the fiscal year was $12.8 million over budget and should continue to be over budget as CARES Act funds are recognized to offset lower passenger revenues. Mr. Shank reported that the authority ended January with approximately $138.8 million in operating reserves. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Ann. Are there any questions? Okay, and with that, is there any new business? I have received none. Anything anybody wants to bring up? Okay, then we're going to move into public comment, and our first speaker is Fred Mergner. I hope I pronounced it right, Fred. I apologize if I didn't.
Yes, you did. Can you hear me okay?
We can hear you fine.
Very good. Thank
Just
you.
remind you that we have a 3-minute limitation on speakers.
It's under 3 minutes. My name is Fred Mergner, retired Port Authority service planner and scheduler. The Pittsburgh Bus Rapid Transit project holds great promise for improving transit service throughout the East End. Over 40,000 daily riders could benefit from BRT-related improvements. However, the proposed service plan will not allow all riders to realize this promise. The plan is to short-turn 4 routes so that they no longer serve uptown or downtown, and another will no longer link 2 park and ride lots and 3 East Busway stations with Oakland. This disruptive service plan contradicts BRT's stated goals and objectives of improving travel speed, ease of use, job connectivity, and strengthening connections with other routes. These noble objectives will not be met. The short turns will sever existing transit links, force transfers, risk misconnections, increase door-to-door travel times, cost, and time waiting. The probability of overcrowding and pass-ups on the remaining downtown routes is also increased, all the while frustrating current riders and discouraging new ones. This will be particularly hard on transit-dependent riders, seniors, and people with disabilities. Forbes Avenue and Squirrel Hill will lose about a quarter of its direct downtown service. Fifth Avenue and Shadyside and Murray Avenue about half, and Center Avenue between Craig and Aiken over 2/3 except at Neville Street. And Fifth Avenue and Point Breeze will have no downtown service at all. These excessive service losses may prompt the need for a contentious public hearing. The routes to be short-term normally serve over 20,000 weekday riders. Many of them are riding between the East End and Oakland. Many others are continuing to Mercy Hospital, Duquesne University, the Arena, or downtown, our largest job center and the hub of the transit system with connections to most other routes. Forcing transfers will negate the promise of BRT for a myriad of riders and actually worsen their transit experience. Some riders may leave transit altogether. But the solution is simple. Except for rerouting to outbound Forbes Avenue, maintain the existing route structure of the 61s, 71s, and P3 just as it is. This will ensure that all 40,000 plus daily riders benefit from BRT and that their goodwill toward the project will work to attract new riders. With the current plan, Port Authority runs the risk of losing public confidence and being seen as not worthy of the public trust. This doesn't bode well for the organization's future with regard to seeking funding for operations and new projects. We all want Port Authority to succeed and for Port Authority to bask in the glow of its success. I urge the board to speak truth to power and so to remove the obstacle to a successful BRT service plan and project. Don't allow BRT to be a service cut. Have it be a service improvement that benefits everyone. Port Authority will be the better for it and its riders deserve it. That concludes my remarks.
Thank you, Mr. Bergner. Our next speaker is James McInerney. James, are you with us? Okay, seeing that he's not here, our next speaker then is Andrew Hustain. Andrew?
No, Andrew.
Okay. All right, then with that, our next regular meeting is March 26th. Hope everybody has a good weekend, and we'll see you then. Thanks, everybody. We're adjourned.
Thanks.
Thank
Mr. Chair.
you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.